What's going on, everyone? Golden Ticket to History coming to you from a cemetery about 30 minutes outside of downtown Orlando, Florida, in the small town of Winter Garden. I'm here because in the cemetery is the final resting place of one of the victims of one of the most famous female serial killers of all time. Aileen Wuornos was a female who was eventually executed in the Florida State prison system for the murder of multiple men while working as a prostitute in the late 1980s up until 1990. Aileen Wuornos was the first American female serial killer executed in the state of Florida. She killed her victims while working as a prostitute in the back roads of Florida. Her second victim, unfortunate victim, was from a small town here in Central Florida. And this is where he lays at rest. Right over here. David Andrew Spears, born July 20th, 1942, at rest May 19th, 1990. He passed away on May 19th, 1990, after being shot 6 times by Aileen with a .22 pistol. His body wasn't found until June 1st of 1990, declothed off the Route 19 in Citrus County, Florida. David was only 47 years old. He was a construction worker who was out of town working when he met up with Aileen. That ultimately led to his death. He was a loving husband. His wife is laid to rest. His wife, final resting place will be next to him. She was born on May 1st, 1948, but there is no death date. Aileen Wuornos was born on February 29th, 1956, in Rochester, Michigan, growing up in nearby Troy area to the south. The young Wuornos experienced horrifying tumult during her childhood. Her father killed himself while serving prison time for child molestation charges, while her mother abandoned Wuornos and her older brother Keith with her grandparents. Yet Wuornos' grandmother was allegedly to be an alcoholic, and her grandfather was very violent and abusive. It was later in late 1989 into the fall of 1990, Wuornos had murdered at least 6 men along Florida's highways in mid-December 1989. The body of Richard Mallory was found in a junkyard, with 5 more men's bodies to be discovered over subsequent months. Authorities were eventually able to track down Wuornos, who had used various aliases, and more from fingerprints and palm prints left in the crash vehicle of another missing man, Peter Sims. Wuornos was arrested in a bar at Port Orange, Florida, while police tracked down Moore in Pennsylvania. To avoid prosecution, Moore made a deal, and in mid-January of 1991, she elicited a phone confession from Wuornos, who took full and sole responsibility for the murders. A media frenzy ensued over the case due in part to the lurid nature of the crimes. During the trial, Wuornos asserted that she had been raped and assaulted by Mallory and had killed him in self-defense. Though not revealed in court, Mallory had previously served a decade-long prison sentence for sexual assault. She stated that her killing of the 5 other men had been in self-defense as well, though she would later retract these statements. On January 27, 1992, a jury found Wuornos guilty of first-degree murder for the Mallory case, and she received the death penalty. Over the ensuing months, Wuornos pled guilty to the murder of 5 other men whose murders she was charged with, and received a death penalty for each plea. Outside of court, she later admitted to killing of Sims, whose body was never recovered. Spending a decade on death row, Wuornos eventually opted to fire her appeals lawyers who were working for a stay of execution, but a court-appointed attorney was concerned about comments made by Wuornos that suggested she was profoundly disconnected from reality. In 2002, Florida Governor Jeb Bush lifted a temporary stay of execution after 3 psychiatrists deemed her mentally competent to understand the death penalty and the reasons for its implementation. Wuornos was executed by lethal injection on the morning of October 9, 2002. Her reported last words were, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie. Big mothership and all. I'll be back." Wuornos' remains were cremated and scattered by a tree in her hometown in Michigan, as well as some of the remains being at the Last Resort bar in Port Orange, Florida, where she was arrested. So David was the unfortunate second victim of Aileen and her robbery murders that occurred in 1990. May David rest in peace. And as always, I'm going to leave a penny, like I always do, to show that I came and paid my respects. This penny right here. So David was the second victim of Aileen Wuornos' rampage. If you want to come pay your respects to David Spears, there's 3 entrances into this cemetery. The easiest one is probably the middle one. You come in, which is right behind me. The road wraps around. You can park along here right across the side. And some trees. We're going to look at some landmarks. There's a couple of trees right here. There's also these 2 tall, skinny trees that are almost about three graves to the right of David's. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. As always, I hope that you continue to look for the history in film. So until next time.